On today's episode,
new media royalty, Shira Lazar.
Named one of the most influential voices in technology.
If you create it, you will be it. That is who I am.
How she bounced back from the darkest time in her life.
And within 24 hours, literally, I lost everything.
To become one of the brightest voices.
Here's what's trending now.
Of her generation.
You've just given some profound advice.
Inside Quest starts right now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Quest. Really honored to have you guys here. We have with us today new media royalty, the incomparable Miss Shira Lazar.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being with
Quite
us.
the introduction.
Well, it gets better. Fast Company named Shira as one of the most influential women in technology, and I think after today's interview, you guys are going to understand why so many people dream, Shira, and so few execute on those dreams, and that is my biggest frustration as somebody who's trying to lead a team to really do something great. We've, assembled this group of amazing dreamers, but getting them to take that next step of execution is so difficult, and you've done a phenomenal job of painting a grand vision for your life, not waiting for somebody to tell you that you could do something cool. You just did it. You founded and host the What's Trending YouTube Smash series. Tell us how that got started.
Well, I came from a background of communications, TV and video production, but I came at a time when YouTube wasn't around yet. So when I graduated, I loved news magazines and talk shows. I was always a student of the craft, of the game, you could say.
Right.
And I knew that I could go the local TV station route. I mean, at the time, to be a broadcaster, you either did that and you were in a small city, in a small town, reporting on, who knows what, murders, the weather, I don't even know. And I just didn't see that as who I was. It wasn't a reflection of me and what I enjoyed. Or you auditioned and you did the Hollywood hustle, and then hopefully maybe you got a big hosting gig on a network. And that is very rare also. That's lightning in a bottle. And so I started to create my reel basically. And I literally was like faking it until I made it, right? Perception is reality. So instead of waiting for someone to dub me and tell me I was a host, I said, no, I am. That is who I am. I'm gonna create that title. So whoever I met, I'd be like, I'm a host, I'm a broadcaster. They'd be like, well, what do you host? And be like, well, I do this, I do that. They're like, where can I find you on TV? I'm like, well, you can't find me on TV, but this is what I do.
Right.
And so it didn't matter if someone was hiring me to do that. I proclaimed I was that. And I kind of use that throughout my life. It's like, if you create it, you will be it.
Where'd you learn to do that though? Because there's one story in your background that I think will really illustrate how just baked into your personality that is. So you lose your Nokia phone.
Oh yeah, oh my
and
God,
rather than go, hey, I'm now
you remember my life
phone.
more than I do.
That's
so,
the goal.
So this is what I was so in the midst of that. So I got the agent, I was auditioning, I did that thing, but I wasn't getting the jobs. So at that point, I was doing random gigs, but I was always really fascinated by all the stuff that happened in between shooting. Like we'd shoot these high quality videos and everything, and everyone was looking to make things more edgy. And I go, well, what's fun and interesting? It's the stuff that happens in between when the publicist says, sorry, you need to wait around, you can't get that person, or when the celebrity walks past you, or when I'm just waiting on the carpet. I go, wouldn't it be cool to bring things in real time? And at the time, Twitter wasn't around,
right.
YouTube wasn't around, and so I go, can we go live? Well, what's a cheap way to go live? So I started researching like phones that you could upload in real time. And at the time, Nokia was one of the only phones, and it had this app called Quick, which I don't even know if it's around anymore. So I started doing it on my own. And it's funny because I went to, remember, a meeting with an executive producer of a big entertainment news show. And she goes, what do you bring to the table that no one else does? I go, well, I do these really interesting things with this phone. I interview people with my phone. But this is in 2006. And she's like, well, who pays you to do that? And I was like, what do you mean who pays me? I do it because this is what I love doing, and like, why should I be just doing it when I'm in the hours of working? There's always a story to tell. Like when I was, driving on the street and it was the writer's strike, and I bumped into Norm Macdonald. And so I was like, I'm gonna just do an interview with him. Yeah, this was random. This is just like for my blog at the time. So I go, hey, can I interview you? He goes, for what? For my site. I don't know, I'm gonna do it. And he goes, with what? I go, with this. He goes, what the hell's that? Your phone? You're gonna interview me with your phone? I was like, yeah. And now, once again, we get how that works. And so I did it, and in that moment, I realized there was something special there. raw and intimate nature of our interaction
Right.
was really special. And I'm like, interesting. I could do this on my own at any point. I could get exclusive access. Like, I don't need like a whole team.
Right.
And so I started doing that on my own for my own site in between my other professional gigs. And then one night I lost my phone. And I was like, I don't want to buy a new one. I use this for my work. Like, they should be giving me a phone. So I literally Googled Nokia press release, found the press person, and said, I use this phone for work. I think more journalists should be using it. It's an amazing piece of equipment. And I think this is, the next thing. And so she was really inspired by what I said. And she's like, maybe we could do something to work together. And from there, I just started getting hired by, a lot of people in the web and tech / entertainment space.
You ever seen the movie Funny Games?
No.
Fascinating movie. Highly recommend people watch it. The setup is really pretty simple, and if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Because the difference, and I'll explain why in a second, but the difference between people like Shira who have this vision of what her life could be and she goes on to execute, and the people who have a vision for what their life can be but feel like there's just so many forces working against them, I can tell you right now the thing that stands between you and your dreams is you. It's not some external obstacle. So the movie Funny Games opens where these two sort of good-looking teenage boys end up trapping this wealthy family in their house through social mores, right? Just the things that you are uncomfortable that they're asking, but sort of social obligation demands that you keep saying yes. And they just drag them into deeper waters until they get them to say yes to really uncomfortable things, and then all of a sudden it turns into a horror film. And you're like, what is happening? It's like a very dark movie. And it takes this uber dark turn, and that was like one of those things that really left a lasting impression on me, because I was like, it's so true. Like, there's just social wiring that we have. Like, back in the day, I would not have asked for that phone from Nokia. I would have thought, like, whoa, you can't do that. Like, it's not Nokia's fault that I lost my phone. Like, how can you blame them? Like, how can you have the chutzpah or the balls to call those guys up and track them down, through their press release and say, hey, you guys should give me a phone?
Well, it's also the way you approach it. It's not like, I need, this is for me. It's like,
Right.
How do I add value to you? Like, you need to do this with me because it's gonna help you. Like, I always find
Incredibly
ways,
powerful point.
and you also have to have, like, it's an empathy awareness of, what does that person need, like, the pain points of that person right now. I feel like there's a lot that happens, a lot of collision and tension that happens between people when there's no empathy.
That's something you and Tim Ferriss talked about in the interview that you did at South by Southwest, where you basically prodded him to talk about networking. And I thought his answer was really fascinating. And it's show empathy for the person in the situation that they're in, understanding that they're under tremendous time pressure, acknowledge that, give them something. So his advice was, rather than try to rattle off some pitch at breakneck speed, give them something that's well thought out that they can read at their leisure later, and you just give them a 10-second spiel that says something like, I understand how much time pressure you're under. I've put a lot of thought into this, and I think it could be valuable to you and what you're doing. Very quickly express that you know something about them, and then leave it behind and walk away. And he said, you really make a 2-level impression. Level 1 is, I get it, right? I've got empathy. I understand the situation that you're in, the whole theory of mind thing. And then 2, you give them something that they can look at their leisure when they're relaxed, and you've just got a better chance of.
And you'd be surprised. We are all going so fast these days, and it's so easy to just be consumed by your phone, your laptop, and all the information right in front of you, and building the brand of me, and the brand of your company, and the brand of this. It's important to step out of that and have real conversations, because that's how you nurture those relationships.
What are you most passionate about in life?
People and experiences. You should never live a day where you look back and you're like, ugh, that sucked. Like, I regret that day. Whether it be a chill day or a busy day.
You would regret it because you didn't optimize it?
Well, no, you should never look back at your day and be like, that sucked. Even if you had maybe a crappy day, you should never look back and be like, I regret that day.
Well, tell me what you mean by that, because I'm either totally in agreement or I disagree in the most violent, horrifying way you can imagine.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so if you do like, if you're a horrible person and you're bad, you should maybe have some
not
regrets.
that. But so let's take Shira and Tom, right? So I'll tell you a day that I would truly regret and think that failing to regret it would be a very bad idea. I have goals.
Yeah.
I'm moving towards those goals. When I'm gonna play, I click a switch in my mind and I go play, and I embody that fully.
Yeah.
But on a day that I'm not playing, on a day that I'm trying to move towards my goals, if I fail to optimize my time, if I fail to take real strides, I regret that day.
Yes, I think it's more tomorrow's a new day. So it's not being overcome by and like constantly churning on that idea.
Have you read the book, The Marshmallow Test?
No.
It's a pretty fascinating book. It's a very famous study. I've talked about it on the show before, but I just read the actual book on the study, and he puts some really counterintuitive stuff forth, but there's research to back it up. And he said things like that, it actually does not serve you to sit there and think about and think about and think about.
No.
It's better to emotionally blunt and try to forget
and
the
I
issue.
talk about it. Like sometimes I'll just talk about it like with my boyfriend, significant other, friend. Don't bottle it in, don't keep it in. If you talk about it, you have to like let things go. Just like a wave. I mean, that's why meditation is great, right? You like have all these random thoughts in your head. These
Do you set aside
judgments.
time for meditation?
I'm starting to get into it. I want to get into transcendental meditation, but I've been using this app called Calm for 10 minutes in the morning.
What made you start doing that? That's something I hear from successful people all the time.
I've always been, you could say, even though I'm hyper and I'm scattered and I tend to like go here and there, like sometimes before I go live on air and if I feel that anxiety nerve, I'll just think of the word love. And you'd be surprised how you begin things when you visualize that and come into things like that than if you were just like, all right, I'm there, I'm gonna go like that. Right. It's just like a different energy you bring to the table. And to some people it comes very naturally. I think as a woman sometimes, and if you're a young woman and doing this, you tend to like be like being cute and we're scared to say things that sound too bold. It's like, what do people want to think? Are they going to think I'm narcissistic? I don't want to be looked at as someone that has too much ego. Like, I want to be accessible. Like, sometimes be like, oh, it looks like I'm full of myself. But there's a way to do it. That's not you're full of yourself. You're allowed to have ego. You're allowed to have confidence. It's beautiful. Like, every day now, I do these heavy, like breathing, like of like taking bad energy out, like good energy in, and then literally at the end I go, I am awesome. This is awesome. This is gonna be an awesome day. And I do that.
And you think that's
and I'm laughing now. I'm not owning it because I think it's, sometimes I'm like, this is kind of sounds crazy, but I think it helps going into the day like that.
You know, it's interesting though, and I'm glad that you say that because, so in fairness, it does sound crazy, right? But there's so many things.
They always say the most brilliant people were crazy.
I have no doubt. My thing is, if people aren't willing to acknowledge that, there'll forever be a distance between them and something that could be potentially powerful. So this is how I feel about the word spiritual. To me, spiritual is a goofy ass word. It does not convey. People don't hear what I intend when I say it. But they're like, for me, this symbol is a very spiritual symbol, and I mean that sincerely.
It means something to you, though.
100%. Doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to everybody else.
Fine.
Same with that word. Same with, as you're describing it, it's very clear it's something that's powerful for you. But in the retelling, you're absolutely right that there is a danger that people hear something that you don't intend, that there is, until you've tried it, until you've embodied it, until you've actually done meditation, it seems quirky. And I think people have so lost touch with, the brain is just an organ, right? So if you were having heart problems, you would go to a heart doctor and they would tell you what to do, and hopefully that advice would be sound, but people have that way of thinking. But when they look, so to me, right and wrong is determined in not moral right and wrong, just am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Is determined in one very simple way. Set a goal for yourself, okay? We'll make all the assumptions that that goal is good and worthy for now, just to make this simple. Set a goal for yourself. It's a good and worthy goal. Now, ask of every decision you make, is it moving me towards my goal?
You have a filter. I say it's like your filter, your personal 100%. Filter. And we could go back to a story of like a dark time in my life when I was at CBS News and we had a staffer. This is when we launched What's Trending. I had a billboard in Times Square. We were about to sign another 7-figure deal. I was like at the height of my life in my, mid-late 20s. It was a good time. And then a staffer tweeted that Steve Jobs died, and it was a false report. And within 24 hours, literally, like, I lost everything. They terminated my contract, and it was crazy. It was like, it felt like a nightmare. Right. And we left that day, work that day on a Friday, saying, oh, we'll regroup on Monday, let's just keep it chill, quiet. We won't talk to the press because the press was everywhere. This literally went everywhere. It was like on Engadget, every major tech site. I mean, this was like a very public thing. And the next morning comes around and our site is being rerouted to our Facebook. We're like, what is going on? And then we had to jump on a flight from New York to LA. And then while I'm on the flight, I'm online And that's how I found out I was fired.
Wow, that's rough.
It wasn't like, I was just thrown under the bus. It was like CBS News cuts ties with What's Trending and Shira Lazar in the headline. And that's when it all like trolls on Twitter, like, you bitch, you this, that. Like, I mean, I'd never seen so much hate, like, you're never gonna get a job again, no one's gonna trust you.
Wow.
The whole thing got blown out of proportion. It was crazy. And it did feel like, it felt very surreal, like a nightmare. You dream about this stuff. Like, you wake up, you're like, I dreamt that someone tweeted something that wasn't right, and then I got totally fired out of nowhere, and everyone was like tweeting me and saying I wasn't gonna ever work again. It was so crazy. But this was my life. Wow. And when we landed, I mean, we were emailing people like, what's going on? We need to take control of the situation. And they sent us our termination letter. And it was like, we didn't even get to talk to anyone. And it was a feeling of loss of control. Like, there were literally, we tried to call lawyers and this, that, no one would talk to us. And then at that point, you tell yourself, after working so hard to create something, like, what was the point of all that? For the first time, and I'm not someone like that. Like, I don't regret anything. I don't even know if I'm gonna ever be able to work again. I'm gonna be one of those that people, has an X.
A cautionary tale.
And that day, this is a fun story, Mark Cuban, who's always been a friend and supporter, my business partner emailed him and was like, Shira's in a really bad place. I think she could use some advice. And I emailed him the article and I go, this is crazy. This is spun out of control. Like, I don't know how to handle this. And he goes, meet me. I'm, flying in for Shark Tank. And so we get there and he's like, yeah, you've been crying a lot, haven't you? I go, yeah, I have. And he goes, well, do you love what you're doing? Do you like this? Are you enjoying this? I go, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not enjoying this right now, but if I wasn't doing this for myself, this company, What's Trending, interviews, stories, I would be doing it for someone else. I'd be hired to do it. And he's like, so you continue. There's no choice. You just got to continue. He's like, I've been in bad press. He's like, are you telling me that you can't raise $50,000? Are you telling me that for all this passion and you think this is such an important thing to do, like no one's out there to support you? And I go, well, now that you say that, and it was tough love. It's not like he just wrote us a check.
Right.
But after that, we basically hunkered down. We're like, we're just gonna work our asses off. The next show we came back with, Moby at the time, I remember, who I love, but he'd canceled because he heard all, the PR people got scared. And our booker at the time goes, I got this guy, he'll fill in for the music slot. He's really up and coming. I think he's gonna be huge. Kendrick Lamar. Are you okay with him stopping by the show? And I go, oh yeah, and I listened to his music and I was like, yeah, this guy seems cool, he's awesome. And he sang High Power on the show and it closed the show.
Wow.
And I remember I was like very emotional because imagine like he's singing High Power and it was a sign there's something bigger. And this happens for a reason. It really pushed me to look at What's Trending as a company, myself as an entrepreneur. It was a humbling moment. Because I look now, everything I have, I'm very grateful because I realized I could lose anything in a moment. Right. The story shifted from, these people aren't gonna make it and good luck to you, like this big company dropped you, to actually, F that big company, like let's support the underdog. You represent the future. And it empowered me that what I was doing, I was on the right path. I know the storm will subside and I'll see the light. When the storm subsides,
do you get a concrete lesson from that? Do you worry about that, or are you just looking for the calm?
Sometimes when it's too calm, you go, something's wrong here. Sometimes it's like, sometimes when things are too good, you go, okay, I need to step up my game. Like whenever I plateau, when things get too easy, I say, okay, what are we missing? Because if things are too easy for me, that means someone else is coming and seeing the other thing that's hard.
Do you know Peter Diamandis?
Yes.
He has an awesome list of laws that he calls them Peter's laws, and one of the laws is if you're not faced with a challenge, create one.
Yeah.
I think for that exact reason.
And you don't want to create problems in your life or negativity, like drama queen, you don't want to do that. But it is true, like I'll always say, so what's the thing we haven't done yet?
What advice do you have for that young entrepreneur who is paralyzed because they don't know what the first step is?
Take some time to go to a cafe and take notes down, start brainstorming. Like you need to let yourself breathe and think and brainstorm. We tend to not give ourselves time and we think like, if it's a good idea, it'll just come. Like, no, you need to work at that and outline, your thoughts. First off, what are you passionate about? Like, what's that one thing you obsess about, whether it be with yourself, with your friends? That's probably the thing you should be building a business on, or pursuing at least. And then you go, well, what around that passion, what's a business? Like, what are other businesses that have started with that passion? And then you go, okay, this is interesting, so I could start this type of thing with this passion. And then you have to tell yourself, well, do I want to work for myself, or do I want to join a movement that someone else has created and continue being inspired? And sometimes that's the better road to go on.
So I'm going to welcome you to my nightmare now, as you took me into yours. I was very grateful for the glimpse.
Yeah.
You've just given some profound advice. It was really, I think, on point. But none of them are going to quit tonight and go start their dream tomorrow. And why? Why aren't they?
Why aren't they going to quit?
Yeah. What is that? And don't focus on the quit. Why aren't they?
Oh.
You think that's it? Just fear?
I think there's, hopefully maybe they like it here, they don't want to quit.
Sure.
No, I'm kidding.
So, and I totally agree with that. And so abstract it from here and somewhere else. There's so many people working a dead-end job and they're not going to take your advice.
I think a lot it's paralyzing, a fear of, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work? What's going to happen?
So how did you overcome those fears?
I think if you believe in something enough and you work hard at it and you love it and that energy excites people and inspires people, you'll find ways to make money. But you have to constantly be learning. Like you're reading all the time. You're learning from other entrepreneurs and leaders.
Sure.
You're always an open book to that. And so you never get to a place where you feel like, oh, I've reached the height of it. It's okay at any age to be a student and to learn. And those are the people that succeed the most, that are okay with that, instead of, I need to know it all right now. And that allows you to begin your journey towards a more successful and fruitful life. So
it's great. I really, really enjoy the way that you look at life. I cannot thank you enough for being on the show today. This was incredible. One, I thoroughly enjoyed stalking you on the internet and seeing because you can really watch your personality go from the playful to the profound and back again. I mean, that's a real joy, and it came out certainly here today. I thank you very much for that. I think you've given these guys so many awesome things that they can apply to their own lives in terms of how to find within themselves that passion, that belief, the confidence that they need to go out and build something even when other people are telling them that they can't. It's just an incredibly powerful message, and I'm glad that you brought it today, Shira. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having a platform like this for me to share that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks all of you.
All right, everybody. This is a weekly show. We are going to try and every week employ Shira's methodology and get better and better and better and grow. So come back. Be sure to subscribe. We'll be here next week. Until then, we'll be waiting for you. Go kill it for a week, and we'll see you next. Take care.